Hello everyone, it is Saturday today, it's the middle of May, it's also my eldest son's birthday, so it'll be a bit less filming today than on a usual Saturday, but I did want to just do a quick whip round and bring everyone up to speed on the goings on here and where we are. So it's middle of May, as I said, and it's been really quite cool still. We're not getting frost, you know, the nighttime temperatures are still staying a little bit high. One of the things about this time of year, it's been very, very wet, and generally speaking, it's going to be either cold or wet. You don't tend to get both together because the same clouds that are bringing us this wet weather we've been having are also acting as a bit of a blanket for us overnight and keeping the temperatures up. The other thing about this wet weather we've been having is it's been really, really good for the garden. So many of my plants, my wife's garden there behind me, everything's looking really well and shooting up, and we've got so much going on. It's really a really enjoyable experience at the moment just to walk past the garden and the vegetables and see what's going on. All of our potatoes are now coming up in these buckets down here, but the other addition, this is our grapevine, and it's decided it's time to start putting on leaf. Now, if you're someone who follows my channel quite a lot, then one thing I would say is just take a look at that now and have a little look and try and remember what that looks like, because in just a few weeks, that'll be just a forest of green. You certainly won't be able to see through it like you can at the moment. But everything's coming on really well. We've got so many blossoms down there on our strawberry patch, and the garden's just going crazy here. A lot of our perpetual spinach has decided to run to seed, and I can't say, if I'm honest, that I'm that upset about it, because we've got another patch just down here which is again going to be more than enough for our needs, going to take over, and it means I'm going to be able to rip out most of this row, and that's for two purposes. One, it's going to make room for a lot of our other seedlings which are desperately in need of the space, and two, it's also going to allow me to plant some more perpetual spinach somewhere else a little bit more suitable than in the middle of the bed there. Everything's just doing so well. Look at all these potatoes down here. All of our seedlings are doing just fantastically. I'm just going to pop up and feed the pigs, and then I'll take you over to show you my beehive setup at the moment and what we're doing, how we're getting on over there. Another sign that spring is pushing on is the elder. These are going to be elderflowers fairly soon. I love the smell of elderflowers, and I love the use of elderflowers to make elderflower cordial. It's one of the things that we make in our house. So if you're a forager like me, then the elder is just a really important plant. It's a really important tree to the forager because we harvest from it 3 times. We harvest from it late spring, early summer with the elderflowers, and then we harvest from it again towards the end of the summer with the elderberries. And then in the depths of winter, when there's not a lot around, even when there's a foot of snow on the ground, we harvest from it a 3rd time, because the broken and damaged parts of the elder are a host for wood ear or jelly ear mushrooms, and they're an edible used quite a lot in oriental cooking. So it's just a really important plant for the forager, I think. And as we're coming through the little back part of our wood here, we're just creeping up on our beehives. So it's pretty miserable weather for bees, so I'm not expecting to see very much activity at all. No, but they are coming and going still. And here's our nuke, our latest addition. So all 3 of our hives have signs of life, even on this wet day. This is the hive that was originally down in the apiary and was in lockdown. This is the one we rescued from the roof, and this is the swarm that we collected just a couple of days ago. So we'll let those guys get on with their day. So I was under the impression, as you'll know, I'm very, very, very new to beekeeping, and I was under the impression that really I was very unlikely to get very much honey from any of my bees, apart from maybe that colony that's longest established from last year, and even then it'd be quite late in the season. So when I went down to, in a video a couple of videos back, I went to a little meeting of my beekeeping association that I'm a member of. It's where I picked up all that really, really cheap equipment, and I went down there and said, look, I'm really looking for someone who loves goat's cheese and would like to swap some of my goat's cheese for their honey for September, thinking that, you know, I was going to have a big gap in my produce in September insofar as sugar, honey, whatever I'm going to use for sweetness. Now, if you follow my channel for a little while, then you'll know that in September I'm eating nothing apart from the things that I can grow, harvest, forage myself from the garden and the wild spaces around us. The only exception for that is I'm allowed to trade. So those are the sort of self-imposed rules. So one of the things, for example, that I'm trading is flour. There's a bakery next door, and I've already started actually trading our eggs for bags of flour. So that's one way I'm coping. And trading some honey was one of the other things on my list, but having spoke to some much more experienced beekeepers than me down there, they said they're pretty confident that I'll be able to actually take some honey from that hive before September, and that will be hopefully more than I need just to get me through that month. So really quite excited about that. I'm just coming to you now, girls. I just need to find the milking equipment. I did bring it out. So a little while back I was milking our goats and I shared a video with you, and I showed you that one of them had a sore on her teat right at the end. Well, it got to the point where I had to stop milking her, because basically every time I milked her and, you know, took the milk from that udder, it broke the scab. And much like on yourself, if you've got a scab and you're constantly breaking it and picking it off, and that was the only way we could actually get the milk out, was to sort of pick the scab off. It doesn't sound very nice, and it wasn't very nice. Of course, we weren't using the milk, we were just doing it for her benefit, really, to take the milk out of the udder, rather than leave it in there and letting the udder swell up, and that causes quite a lot of discomfort, but can also cause something called mastitis, which is, you know, potentially problematic. And we didn't want any of that, so we were basically breaking the seal on that scab and milking out that udder every day. Well, what was happening was that the scab was just getting more and more adamant that it needed to be there. So the vet came around a couple of times during this process, and basically, you know, we tried all sorts of salves and different things to put on there, and you know, the only thing that was going to cure it was rest. We basically need to rest that teat. So we made the decision at the time to effectively dry up that udder. Now, you can dry up one udder and carry on milking. About a week ago now, 5 days ago, something like that, we stopped milking that udder, and it's healed incredibly quickly. So a couple of days ago, it looked like it had healed completely, so I left it an extra day just to be sure. And then I tried to milk through that side. And one thing that we were really concerned about, almost to the point where we were expecting it, was that the actual aperture at the end of the teat was going to seal over. Much like if you get your ear pierced and eventually it will grow over. Well, with this scabbing and scarring, we were fairly confident that was going to be the result. When I say we, I'm talking about the vet. So just yesterday we tried to milk through that udder for the first time in about a week, and we were, you know, really good news. Some milk managed to come through because her udder has stayed swollen. She hasn't dried up yet. She hasn't you know, reduced the amount that she's holding in that udder. So with time, the risk of mastitis gets higher and higher. So we were, you know, thinking, great, fantastic. However, it was coming through in such a small amount that it just wasn't practical to milk that udder out. So we're going to take as much as we can today, but she's really uncomfortable about me being around it. Now, I'm not being rough with her. I'm not treating her any differently than her other teat, which is quite happy for me to milk, but for some reason she really doesn't like me around it. So it means that I cannot milk that udder out. So it would take well over an hour because of the rate the milk's coming through. So what we're looking at doing now, you can say hello. So what we're looking at doing now, the vet's coming on Monday at milking time to have a look, with a view to maybe doing now, look away now or put your fingers in your ears if you're quite squeamish, because the procedure is basically the same or similar to ear piercing, and basically to kind of pierce that aperture and just widen it up a little bit, because I think she would be so much happier, so much more comfortable, and of course that risk of mastitis drops away if we can actually milk that udder out. That's her there, the one we're talking about. So she's quite happy to be milked. She's going to get up there right now and we'll milk her other udder out, but there's a lot of issues around that first udder that we were struggling with before, but the issues have changed. So I wanted to, bring you guys up to date on that and what's happening. And of course, in the next few days, I'll have another update to let you know where we are. But what I'm expecting is there's going to be 10 minutes of discomfort for her, and maybe a day or two of milking times being a little bit not uncomfortable, but she's not going to be happy with it, and she's going to kind of, because she's got it in her head now that I'm not to go near that udder. Once we get through that, I think she's going to be a much, much, much happier goat. And of course, the main thing is that risk of mastitis and the knock-on effects which that can have will all be reduced. I think that's pretty much all I had to say. I mean, in the next week or so, I haven't done any foraging videos for a little while, and I'm definitely desperate to get out and do some. As always, it's a case of fitting things in as and when. So we'll have to wait and see. The other thing I wanted to say also is I'm finally at the stage now on YouTube where I can do live videos, but I don't want to do it if there's no appetite for that. So what I would like to know is if you would be interested in me doing live videos once a month, once a week, whatever fits. And I think the attraction of live videos is it means that the comments can come up and I can kind of interact with you a bit more. So when the comments come up, you can ask questions and I can answer them straight away. If that's something you would be interested in, please do let me know. If there's not much call for it, then I'm going to just put that on the back burner for a while. But if it's something that people would be interested in, then please do let me know. And if you'd be interested in, it's really important as well that you let me know what sort of times would work for you, because my audience is sort of split between 3 time zones mainly. I've got a few people who watch me who aren't from these places, in places like Denmark, but the 3 places most of my audience are very, very spread out across the globe, and that is here in the UK, in the USA, and finally in Australia. So it's quite a spread of time zones there. So please do let me know what sort of time you'd be interested, if you're interested at all. And of course, don't feel that you have to say you'd be interested if you're not, because that's okay too. I'm really not going to be upset by it. But what I didn't want to do is miss out on an opportunity to do something that I'd be quite happy to do if there was an appetite for it. So there you go. That's going to wrap me up because it's my son's birthday. So as I said, not much filming today. And I think, depending on the weather, I'll be doing a bit more tomorrow. It's still raining now, but God, I love my goats, I do. I'll see you guys real soon. Cheers.